Alright, so Mr. Westhoff wanted to see, can you make equivalent fractions? So the first one was 3/4. Well, if I look at 3/4, I could try fifths. Nope, that is not equivalent. But I know that 4 and 8 are related. So 1. Here's a clue. If I can get 2 of them to equal 1/4, then for sure I can figure out that they are equal like this. Yep, so I could say 3/4 equals 6/8. And now the next thing is you can see a pattern. 3 is related to 6, 4 is related to 8. 3 times 2, that's 6. 4 times 2, that's 8. So they are equal. The next one was 2/10. Well, I need to think to myself, what number on here is related to 10? Think about fact families. Well, 5. 1/5 is the same as 2/10. 4/6. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need to think to myself, okay, what number is related to 6? Well, I know I can count by 3s to get to 6. There's an option. I also know I can count by 12s to get to 6. So maybe some of you also found this option. Or sorry, I said that wrong. Count by 6s to get to 12. It's all about, in fractions, how are the numbers related? Think about fact families. 6 and 5, they're right next to each other, but in fractions they're not related. So I could say 2/3 is the same as 4/6 is the same as 8/12. And the last one you had to do, 1/4. So once again, I know that if I double 4, I can get to 8, so that will work. I know that if I skip count by 4, I'll land on 12, so let's see. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so here we have 3/12 is the same as 1/4, which is also the same as 2/8. Because I know they're equivalent because when I draw them and work with them, they take up the same amount of space. It's also important to remember that equivalent fractions always need to be the same shape. Notice that these are all rectangles. So it's the same rectangle in the same size. My 2/2 are the same as my whole. My 3/3, same as my whole. My 4/4, same as my whole. Now it's time for you guys to go practice on your own. So you have your Google Slides to do, and you're going to do 1 through 5 today. Well, I'm going to look here, and it says find a fraction equivalent to 1/2. Place the fraction model on the gray square. One of these is the same as 1/2. Well, if I look right here in the middle, I can see that half of the shape is shaded in. I also know that 3 is half of 6, so there's 2 ways I know. This one I already did, the same as 3/4. So once again, they're both a square and the same size. That's how I know I can do it. I can see here's 1, 2, 3 sections shaded in. I could pretend 1, 2, 3, and 1 not shaded in. So for 3/4 and 6/8 takes up the same amount of space. 4/6. So I know it's not this one because this one is half, and more than half is filled in here. But when I look at this one, yep, it looks like here not filled in, and here is the same size. The other thing I can do is think to myself, well, 2 times 2 is 4, so then 3 times 2 is also 6. There's another way to check to see if they're equivalent. Number 4. Find a fraction equivalent to 2/4. Well, I know 2/4, if I look at the picture, half is filled in. So down here, find a picture where half is filled in, right here. And if I don't want to use the picture and use the numbers, what's 2 times 2? 4. What's 4 times 2? 8. Another way to check it. And number 5, use the fraction bars to create a fraction equivalent to 2/6. So I'm going to drag this here. It looks like 2/6 is the same as 1/3. Because they're the same size, they take up the same amount of space. Good luck on 1 through 5.